Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on my channel where today I'm going to do my June TBR. My criteria for selecting the books on my TBR this month was quite simple. It was just two questions. Question 1, have I read it? And question 2, is it a part of a series? Because that's my mission this month, is to get through books that are a part of a series which I have not read yet. Whether it's the first book and I just haven't read it, or I've read the first book but not the second or third or fourth or something. I want to get through those books. It was one of my New Year's resolutions to have less unfinished series on my shelf, and I somehow have more now than I did at the start of the year. And I tallied it up, and that means I have to read about 15 books this month, which is incredibly ambitious, and it's most likely not going to happen, but it's worth a try. I'm not going to take you guys through every single book as a part of a series that I have to read because that would make this a really long video, but I'm just going to talk about a few that I'm thinking I will definitely read this month. First up is the book that I am currently reading, and it's City of Lost Souls by Cassandra Clare, which I'm already more than halfway through and I'm quite enjoying. I didn't really remember what happened in this book, so it's quite enjoyable and I'm liking the dynamic between the characters, but I do find Clary quite frustrating, so we'll see how that goes. Obviously, after reading book 5, I will be reading book 6, and it's City of Heavenly Fire, also by Cassandra Clare. And this is the only book in the Mortal Instruments series that I've never actually read. It's the whole reason I'm doing a reread, is so I can read this for the first time. And I'm actually more excited to read it than I thought I would be. I've quite enjoyed the series building up to this point, and I honestly don't know what happens in this book, which is really exciting. And I'm thinking that when I finish the series, I will do just a full book talk about all my thoughts and feelings and all that sort of stuff about this series as a whole, so you guys can look forward to that later in the month. After that, I'll be reading Siege and Storm and then Ruin and Rising, both by Leigh Bardugo. These are the second and third books in the Grisha trilogy, and I read the first book back in January and really enjoyed it. It was much better than I thought it would be, considering I've heard a lot of mixed things about this series as a whole. But I only just found books 2 and 3 in the same edition as the first one I own, so I've only just bought them and I'm really excited to read them, and I'm hoping these are good because, like I said, I've heard mixed things, but fingers crossed that they are as entertaining as the first book was. Once I've finished the Grisha trilogy, I think I'll be quite keen to kind of stay in that whole magical world. So I'm going to read Six of Crows, also by Leigh Bardugo, and this is a separate series that takes place in the same universe as the Grisha trilogy. I mean, at least that's my understanding of it, and I'm really excited to read this. I've been wanting to read it for a while. People have just been going like crazy over this book and really enjoying it. All I really know of the story is that it's about 6 kind of outcasts or something who come together to pull off this impossible heist, and I just think books or movies or TV shows about heists are so much fun because I love the way it all comes together and they're really clever, and I do really enjoy Leigh Bardugo's writing, so I'm thinking I will really enjoy this one. This is the point where my TBR gets a little uncertain because I'm not entirely sure which series I will feel like picking up later in the month. I don't know what I'll be in the mood for or anything, but I have about 3 options that I'm hoping to get to this month, and the first of those is Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas, which is the second book in Throne of Glass, and I know I'm like the last person on the planet to read this series, and I don't even have a reason that I haven't continued it because I really enjoyed the first book when I read it last year, and I bought this one in January with the intention of reading it, but as you can tell, I always put off completing or pursuing a series for reasons that are unclear to even me, so let's just not get into it. But I'm quite excited to read this book because I've heard that the series is really entertaining, especially the 3rd and 4th books, and I just want to continue it, especially after reading A Court of Mist and Fury last month and just loving it. I kind of want some more Sarah J. Maas in my life, so hopefully I get to this one. Option 2 for later in the month is Falling Kingdoms by Morgan Rhodes, which is the first book in, I think it's an ongoing fantasy series that just sounds really intriguing. It's, you know, multiple perspectives. It's about a kingdom where there's this kind of fight for power, and it has been compared to kind of Game of Thrones meets Harry Potter, and that really intrigues me because those are 2 of my favorite series ever, and I've heard a lot of mixed things about this series, but a lot of it was really good and I'm intrigued, so I'm thinking I will like it when I get to it, so fingers crossed it's in this month that I read it. Okay, so my final option for later in the month is The Alloy of Law by Brandon Sanderson, which is a part of the Mistborn series, but not the trilogy. I finished the trilogy last month and kind of looked up the other books in this series, and this is the first of them, and what it is basically 300 years after the events of the Mistborn trilogy, we have this book, and it's new characters and a new world. This world they've built has kind of entered the technological age, and there's, I'm guessing, like some drama and still Mistborn powers, hopefully. And I haven't really heard that much about this book, but because I really enjoyed the Mistborn trilogy, I'm hoping I like this one too, but it's only short, so if I don't really enjoy it, I guess I haven't wasted too much of my time. So that's it for my June TBR. These are just my main priorities that I want to read this month. There are other books that I own that are a part of a series that if I have time, I will get to them, but these are just the ones that I want to most urgently read. But I upload videos every Wednesday and Saturday, and I think I'll be uploading some reviews of the books that I mentioned in this video kind of throughout the month. So be sure to like and subscribe and stay tuned for those. Toodaloo!